Should have tested my mic. Hey, listen, it's Friday night and I wanted to talk about this topic because it's been on my mind and it's been on my mind for a while. But I wanted to know if anyone has ever had any experiences with hair shaming or beauty shaming. Have you ever had anyone tell you that you could not do a particular hairstyle because you didn't have the right hair texture? That's happened to me. I was actually told when I was going natural with my hair that I didn't have the type of hair texture to go natural by a family member. And that broke me down. But also, I'm hearing stories about people saying that, they sat in a chair of a hair professional and they didn't have their hair done for a while or something happened that kept them from getting regular appointments. And the professional was like, look at your hair. Like, oh my goodness, how did you let your hair get like this? And you can't let your hair, you can't go so long between, it was just a whole lot of things said where that person felt like trash in the chair. They sat through the appointment and felt so belittled. And so I wanted to ask, if anyone has had any experiences like that. And I wanted to go live because I wanted to just hear from, I'm hearing it a lot. So some of you may know I have a background in social work. I'm a licensed social worker / therapist. I'm also the owner of a hair and beauty business for over a decade. And I made the business because of my emotional connection to the hair experience of hair and how I needed that support and how I felt it was significant enough that I wanted to focus on. So I'm always tuning into people's experiences and I want to know how other people what other people have experienced. And so I decided to go live. I don't normally go live this late on a Friday, but I had some time and I wanted to try this out. And so if anybody is watching, but let me tell you a story. I think I just told you about a very, very, very close family member. I mean, the shaming came in a lot of different ways, but when I was like, I want to go natural, you don't have the type of hair to go natural. Because I have a very tightly coiled 4C hair. At the time, we didn't have a number system back then that I was aware of. And I was told I didn't have hair good enough to go natural. And I remember also trying to grow out my perm and going to a hair braiding place in Harlem. And I wanted to get goddess braids. If y'all remember goddess braids back in the day, they're just big braids, underhanded, go into the style, and you could slick it up on the side. So I didn't want to perm my hair, but I wanted those braids. And I remember the lady saying, no, you don't have the hair to do it. You have to have a perm to get that style. I said, I have to have a perm, but these are braids. Like I don't want to, I want to get a style. And she told me I couldn't get it. And I was just like, but I'm in an African hair braiding place. And I forgot I don't know if I got my hair done that day or if I left. But I mean, those are just little incidents that stuck with me. But I've actually heard people say, professionals have been in their hair and have full-blown conversations with a client for a long period of time about how, well, the client felt like it was saying basically how bad they were keeping their hair or not keeping their hair or whatever. So I wanted to know, if anyone's felt that, not only from beauty professionals, but from others in your family, your friends, and also what do we tell ourselves? I remember looking at commercials and seeing biracial people with the curly hair that was a wash and go kind of style hair. And I used to say, my hair is not like that. My hair is not good hair. And it may seem superficial and trivial, but what this speaks to on a deeper level is how I felt about myself, how I felt about how beautiful I was, because beauty had always been taught to me how worthy I was by how beautiful and easy my hair was to take care of and how acceptable it looked. So I kind of just pressed play on this. I'm not always on YouTube. I don't have the largest following, but this conversation is I'm very passionate about conversations like this. So if you like, you can comment, you can say hi. Let me know you're watching. If you have any input, any experiences, I'd love to hear it. But what I feel like all this does, shaming in general, people are left with a lot of guilt. I'm going to end this here. Bye, y'all. People are left feeling shamed and guilty, so they're not doing it. I'm closing out the IG. And you just feel sometimes guilty for not doing better, or being better, and there's a lot of things we can't control. We can't control our hair texture. Hey, Dragon Chinois. And so, you know, it's still very real, it's still very relevant. We have this whole big natural hair movement, but I'm looking at it also through the lens of a person that's going through it myself, while getting degrees in mental health and understanding that there are so many layers to this. Sometimes we're unconscious about, we're not aware of, and only in certain situations does it come out, and you're left like, wow, this is really impacting me. For instance, if your hair is thinning or something happens in your life and your hair starts to thin, let's say you lose locks or whatever, that affects many women. And many people don't realize until they go through even postpartum shedding, things that happen that changes things that we didn't expect, and how we feel afterwards. Feeling guilty for having a bald spot, yeah. And the client that I just had this week did some rehab work, had her hair literally falling out in meetings. She was, it caused her anxiety because she didn't know if she got up from the table or this happened. It started happening before the shutdown, but even in video, even in interactions where she can be out and around people, she was always worried about making sure she holds her hair, because like literally hair, a lock would be somewhere weird, like on the floor. She turned around and she see her hair, or something was doing something funky, or her bald spot was showing. And so these are all related themes to me. So I wanted to go into that. But also what hair shaming looks like is acting is I'm stuttering. From a professional to a client is if the professional seems overwhelmed by it. Oh my goodness. And it constantly is exhausting. Like that's a form of shaming. You're sitting in a chair expecting that you are able to have a service done, and the whole time you're hearing all this negative kind of talk about what your hair is, how your hair is causing stress on a professional who should be trained to do it or refer you out. Hi Tamara. Hi Jessica. I've experienced these types of situations. I've been getting my retie since last October, and for the first time in my 4C life, my loctician said I have a beautiful texture. I realized how crazy it is that we don't hear that often as it relates to 4C hair. I understand the struggle. How many of us have ever heard growing up, your hair is so beautiful, especially those who have tighter coil hair? I don't think I've ever heard it until I locked, and then you saw the locks. But I want to be real about that. When my hair was long and straight, did I start getting the compliments? If my hair was not locked and it was in that little tight afro, I might get compliments now. It's more acceptable, but that wasn't the reality until I locked my hair. And I'm going to be really honest, 13 years ago. So especially in the 90s in Brooklyn, right? And I locked my hair at the tail end of the 2000s, but it was still shifting into this acceptance of non-European features. But also I see, and I get very sad when I see threads and people comment threads, and people are saying my hair is 4C, that tight, like they will refer to their hair so negatively, just regurgitating probably the messaging that they got about their hair. Nothing like those memories sent with your mother trying to comb through your hair and detangle your hair and braid it, and all that anger and frustration because you're screaming, ow, and your mother needs to get it done. And all this like negative association to your hair. So we never really see or hear, unless there have been people that have heard their hair texture is really pretty, or they have good hair, and that's a whole other kind of conversation. And that's not my personal experience, so I can't speak personally for that. But a lot of people don't hear it. Also, A lot of us don't hear that we're beautiful, period. We haven't heard that, at least. And so this is just one part of the standard of beauty that we're judged by: our hair, our body, our, but it's very real, because it's one and the same for a lot of people. It is something that women value and see it as a part of who they are. And if we don't feel good about it, or if people aren't connecting with us positively about it, it does send a message. We're not robots. We are human. We are interacting with our environments. We're getting these messages programmed into us from young. And the thing that really grinds my gear, that's so corny, but it really gets me really passionate and a little bit upset, is when I hear these stories and they're grown women going into situations, vulnerable once again, because, maybe they've come from a world of perms and wigs and weaves, and they've gone into a world of natural, and then maybe even more gone into a world of locks, and all these transitions and just new ways of looking at themselves, and be in situations where you're vulnerable, and then you have to be subjected to hearing even more negativity that you are trying to release and embrace all these other things about yourself. That really kind of really irks me, but it can be minor. It could also, maybe feeling like you can't receive the full scope of services or products because it's something about you, oh, well, so I told you about the goddess braid story. I think there's other situations where it's like, oh, well, you can't get that because my hair never was long enough for stuff, naturally. So I always had to add hair. But and you would see somebody with longer hair getting certain styles, or whose hair looked like it was more agreeable, being able to do and get certain things, or you can't use that product line. Oh, we grew up with that as Black girls all the time. With the stores had Pantene and VO5 and all these things. I was like, well, can't really use those products. They're not going to work for you. But we didn't have a whole extensive line like we do now. And so just thinking about how all of that builds up over time. And yeah, we grow older and we handle life differently, but these messages and these feelings, sometimes they don't go away. They just translate into what you got going on in your hair now. And so never, especially in the night, but yeah. So I wanted to bring that up because as recently we had COVID, we had the whole shutdown. All beauty services all over the world were stopped. So most people could not get their regular routine beauty services and their hair services. So some people started resuming back, and they had a big gap of time. And I'm hearing a couple of people say, they maybe they went somewhere else and then they came to me. I won't say, but it's like a whole hour of them telling me, what did you do to your hair? Why did you? And she's like, she had a lot going on besides the shutdown. It was also, she could not get to a salon. She had some surgeries, things going on. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done. I'm seeing that with a lot of people, but it was such a turnoff for her. And she felt very sensitive because, like you said, having a bald spot, she had thinning hair. She had some things going on. She wanted to, it was a sensitive spot for her. It had been sensitive since I met her in a consultation. So that she was starting to feel really good about her hair and herself. And then everything happened and she couldn't get her services for a long period of time, almost a year. I think she said, she only got it done a couple of times in the year. And so she's like, it was such a turn off. Like, I don't even want to go back. And that made me say, you know what, I want to talk about this and see if anybody else. It's Friday night. I know it's Good Friday. I don't normally go live this time. But I wanted to just examine that. And then I posed that question earlier about the shaming that we do to ourselves, and for us to be aware about how we carry some of that energy with us, what it looks like, and what we can, just be more aware about. I think, this is my question, Sarah. Do you shame yourself? Oh, and it also piggybacked on another topic of energy, and hair is energy, and not just the hands that are in our hair from other people, but the energy that we infuse into our, ourselves, into our own hair. And that's very powerful. I have never seen, no, the hairs that I've seen do the best, that I felt like, wow, like there's really something different about that hair, looks really great, was one, either was done by someone who had really positive energy and relationship with that client, and they felt very positive about that whole experience, and or the client felt really good, the person felt really good about their hair and their hair experience. And it did something different to how their hair even looked. You know what I mean? So when people are like, oh, my hair is so this, and we're always saying something negative about it, I truly believe that really plays itself out in what we see. And it may sound far-fetched, and some people know exactly what I mean. And it's just this energy, this message, this whole, the whole energy around your hair and around what you're doing. Like, for instance, if you're trying to start a car, my mother used to say, never curse at the car, always be nice and calm and just say, come on, start for me. Don't yell and hit it. And because that was basically the same concept of the energy that you're putting into this, even though it's an inanimate object. Hair starts out as a fluid under your scalp. It is a part of us, and it's not alive in the sense of the other cells on our body, but it is formed from the very cells out of, like, it's liquid, and it's like a frozen liquid or a hardened liquid, but it carries, it absorbs, and it's been known in traditional cultures, like the indigenous natives here, have said that hair was like antennas, and it absorbed energy. And so there would be a lot of symbolic things done with hair to remove the power, to cleanse the person. So I take that very seriously when, for who I have in my hair. I think a lot of people of color do that subconsciously. I think we know, and we don't want, most of the time, someone with bad vibes in our hair. And I wouldn't want I'm very careful about who's in my hair, but also very careful about how I feel about myself and my hair. And so I guess I'm going to end on being aware of that, having more loving, positive energy and vibes around us intentionally. If these experiences are happening, being aware of what you're feeling like in situations like this, how to change it so that it is more nurturing and supportive. And just being very clear about what you need. Sometimes I think also subconsciously, depending on how we feel or about ourselves, plays into the situations that we are in. If there's a subconscious feeling that we're not really worth it, or we don't really like it. I've seen, and I've done this myself, people in situations that really is not honoring them and honoring what they want, how they really want to feel about themselves. But there's something that has them in that situation. I've seen that happen with one person in particular that came to me from someone else, that the dialogue and the thread of the text was so, I was just like, I wouldn't even have responded. That is so unprofessional. It was like a back and forth, like people on the street kind of thing. Like, well, I told you, and I was just like, but she was entertaining it as well. And digging a little deeper, there were red flags from the beginning. And she had decided to still go forward with services. That person, she ended up being disastrous because there were so many red flags in the beginning. But I think for whatever reason, she was in that situation and didn't honor. And I was just like, wow, that's a lot. Like, I don't think anyone should be talked to that way. But you definitely got to think about what is it about you that's even finding that it's okay to continue when you're not even there anymore. Oh, I think actually she was showing me an old thread before she got to me. So I think it was like that transition time, but she was still trying to see if it was a possibility to continue services there. And through conversation, I pick up things, just about what we go through as Black women, and the voids and gaps that sometimes we have, women in general, but I'm a Black woman, so I'm speaking more culturally. I think there's some themes that are consistent because there's other factors, society, there's other things going on. And so sometimes the messages that we're not as worthy as. And so whenever I think about being in situations that don't honor me, that have me feeling bad about any part of myself, I have to think about, what is it about me? Is there something about me that has allowed this to be okay? And what do I need to change so that this doesn't happen again? That being said, thank you so much for listening to my live. And I hope you guys have a good Friday. Maybe I'll start like making it a thing. I don't know, like announcing it. And then I like dialogue. This is the social work group worker in me wants like us all talking, whatever. But anyway, I think that I said kind of what I need to say. So you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Oh, you can also I'll put links in the description for my other platforms so we can connect. Okay. Bye-bye.